And we are live, underway with game number 2, where, honestly, CreatorPrime could just really wreck the day of Slayer's Coca if he manages to take another game. Again, forcing that 3-0 climb up the mountain, and it is not pretty. Let's introduce our players here in the west portion of the map. As the light blue Zerg, it is Slayer's Coca. And in the north spawning location as the blue Protoss, we have got CreatorPrime.
Yeah, and Metropolis is going to be one of those maps that's close by air, far by land, so Coca's going to be very lucky here, scouting correctly with his Overlord. You can see this nice little concave of 4 bases that are all facing towards one, kind of 2 shared large chokes. Makes it very easy to get these 4 bases up for both races and try to defend at those choke points. If Coca chooses to play this style, which isn't really his style, he could try to isolate their control with Broodlords and then push out in the late game, but I don't really see him doing that. That's not kind of the player that he is.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. And, the late game for Zerg on this map, it's not been very pretty lately. We've seen a lot of Zergs, unfortunately, throw away or mismove or attack the wrong base and ultimately lose the game as a result of that. So, what will happen in the longer form of a game like this between these two players? I certainly have to feel like those who have put their bets on CreatorPrime are pretty happy with their bets right now. I would take a look at that first game and say, honestly, am I going to have much, is he going to have much problem like winning game 2 and 3? And he is going to go for a Nexus first this time around while he blocks the hatchery at the same time. The pool is already down and it's nearing completion, but as that probe is about to die, he goes ahead and retreats out, and the hatchery does go down on 16 supply, and not with too much surplus of minerals.
Yeah, CreatorPrime is one of these players, as you mentioned, if people are betting on him, he's one of these players people are betting to win the entire tournament. He's very strong, he's very solid, so he's kind of flexible to all these crazy builds. He just absorbs them and fights back. And you've got to feel comfortable for him in game number 2. Look how long he delayed that natural hatchery, just now halfway with the Nexus about to complete. He's got, he's freely doing exactly what he wants to do. He's got a solid wall off, only 1 cannon necessary here, and this is the game he wants to play, and it's the game he's been allowed to play.
Yeah, and of course, very intrigued to see what will come next out of CreatorPrime. You mentioned close by air, another Stargate build could be a possibility. Blinking into your opponent's base with an observer, also a possibility. As that third base has gone down, I do not believe it has been scouted yet. And the Overlord going to take a couple hits before it decides to retreat out of there. And let me just double check the vision here. Nope, third base has not been seen quite yet, but you can already see just by the pylon placement here, the Overlord placement and of Slayer's Coca, you can see these kind of preparing for any sort of shenanigans where pylons can be on a warp in that can totally cripple your third and that sort of thing. But Zergling's going to catch this probe, and that is going to be a nice little victory coming out here for Coca. Keep that stuff to a minimum, and don't let any surprises hit that third. It's going to be very, very important. Here we have the Cybernetics core finishing up, so what comes next?
And it's actually very surprising because that probe walked past the queen of Coca that was walking to the third base, and the probe actually scouted that third. So Creator doing a full wall off here knows he's not going to be able to get a probe out to scout, so he smartly hides that probe in the bottom right by this kind of pocket expansion. Unfortunate for Coca that he sent those Zerglings around. They were queued right up to where the probe was going to be, but just didn't get in there and get the kill.
That's too bad. And we do see a Stargate going down, so this is definitely going to be another attempt by Creator to take advantage of that and see if he can maybe push his opponent in. Also, there's some pretty wicked pushes you can do with just a single Void Ray, really, if you have the right ground army. But I don't see any additional gateways coming out here. So +1 is going, though. And there we're going to see the Chrono Boost on the Void Ray, and a perfect timed Overlord does pop in. Coca is going to see this and will be privy to what his opponent is going to be doing. A couple Zealots watching the watchtowers as well. And right now, we have the Roach Warren and the Evolution Chamber coming down, and there's no doubt he's going to be dropping down quite a few Spore Crawlers like he did in game number 1.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned you preferred the Queens for the mobile defense, but I think there's nothing wrong with putting a Spore Crawler down. It allows you to
I think you need both, you know?
Okay. It allows you to just drone up, and Zerg early game is all about how many corners can you cut to get the maximum amount of drones out if you want to play that style.
Right. I mean, so at least you're just spending minerals at that point versus like how much did he invest into the Hydras and how much did that put him back? He didn't fully commit to the Hydras, so...
We can see the Spore Crawler very timely there. He's going to get his Overlords grouped up, so they're near there. There's a little bit of a gap around back, but I don't think Creator's going to do anything fancy here. Just wants to kill the Scouting Overlords, get some map control before he breaks down the rocks, and he's actually working on that right now, so he can take his third base very quickly. In terms of actual, units, Creator's kind of at a loss here. He's got a Stalker, 2 Sentries, and it looks like he's making just a couple Gateways and Void Rays.
But yeah, I mean, he does have those additional Void Rays come out, and that means that he's definitely going to go for some sort of pressure here. In fact, his +1 finished. He's doing +1 armor already, and I think he's going to have a nice little force here. He'll have 3 Void Rays, and that's so hard to deal with, even with the Spore Crawlers, if you just don't have the units to do it. Lair is not even halfway done quite yet, and so there's going to be a huge opportunity for attack here very, very shortly for CreatorPrime. You see that he's pretty much spent most of that gas on the sentries, and from this point on, even Zealots, like mass Zealots at this point, can be absolutely devastating. So very interested to see exactly what we're going to see here from Creator and when his plan. Oh my God, he's going for a 4th Void Ray.
So he's actually gone up to 6 gates. He's adding more Void Rays, as you mentioned, and he's just keeping this Void Ray Phoenix pair in the middle, controlling Scouting so that it looks like just a normal make a few Stargate units, control space, and play like that. So it doesn't really look like a timing because he's taking a third base. You're right that he's quite ahead here with his upgrades. Finishing up ground armor 1 now, so he might just control space with this army to try to defend his third against any sort of roach push, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen out of Coca.
No, I mean, might even give away these 3 Void Rays, and a bunch of Lings are going to fall on their way back. Shouldn't have any problem dealing with this. In fact, he gets sandwiched in between and just will lose those units. He is trying to sneak past there to see if he can get a run by over to the third, but I honestly feel like Isaac even going to finish up. He could probably cancel and still be okay with this attack. Zergling's trying to get a couple of Stalkers right here, bringing the rest of the army forward. They do manage to pick off Stalker, but there it is, the cancellation of the third.
Oh, wow.
And that's exactly what he's doing. I mean, pretty much the moment he started building those additional Void Rays, just because I've been subject to this a few times. That's kind of what I figured that he was going to be doing. He could go in, he could go right for the natural and then make his way in. Keep in mind that with those sentries, the force fields to block off any reinforcing units coming from the main is just crucial, and this is going to be ridiculous.
Oh, what a sneaky build. Coca has 2 Spore Crawlers at the front, but he's going to need more than that, trying to reinforce the spines as the force fields go down, trying to isolate these units as much as possible, and there are more Stalkers here than Roaches. The drones are just having a field day trying to get through those force fields, but you can't break that. And looks like this was pretty good. It's a pretty good build.
Over.
Pretty good build, pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard because I was trying to think like what could Coca have done to see that he was going to kind of switch into this. Well, maybe seeing the +1 come out right away would have been some sort of indication, and I'm not sure that he ever really quite caught that. But even a second look, it's so hard because you're denied Overlord scouting by the Phoenixes, and this just wrecks. This does so much damage. I mean, just look at it. He did see the 3 Void Rays in the middle of the map, but it's just not enough time to go, oh, okay, well then let me get the army ready that I need. There we're going to see the Hydralisk Den go down. We got 8 Hydras popping, but too little, too late. The damage has been done, and we are going to see CreatorPrime walk away with a 2-game lead here going into game number 3.
And I was wondering when he built that third, why did he let the Zerglings see it? But now, it makes perfect sense. So as looking at it from Coca's vision, it just